Hey, friends, I'm your host, Dr. Elizabeth Ssemanda, the intuitive psychiatrist, and you are listening to Stepping into Soul Power. Friends, life rarely unfolds in a straight line. A lot of the times, life be life. Life is life. And often we have to start over, and that can feel daunting. But today, our guest has reinvented himself over and over and over again, but done it in big ways, gone from refugee to exile to pop icon to entrepreneur to author. Christian Ray Flores, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate it.
Yes. So I'm first things first. For those people who aren't familiar with your story, can you give us a
Yeah.
little version?
Yeah, I have a very strange story. So basically, I was born in Moscow, Russia. My mom's Russian, my dad's Chilean. And they moved, I was a baby. They moved to Chile. They were going to spend the rest of their lives there. And then everything changed, right? So there was this massive military coup. A bunch of people got killed, tortured and my dad was in a concentration camp.
Yeah.
So we basically at age 5, I find myself, those are my first childhood memories in a refugee facility. We had to leave the country and we got asylum in Munich in Germany, and we were refugees. So we were starting over. It was very traumatic, dangerous. And we ended up sort of having these sort of quick changes, trying to find our place. And from Germany to Russia to Africa, my dad got a contract there as an engineer. And I grew up in Africa. So it was this strange thing I think it's very unusual for people to change 4 countries by age 7.
Yeah.
And not only for countries, but languages, cultures, everything is different. And then, so I spent my formative years in Mozambique in Africa. And it was both also a strange experience because it was both a great childhood, like just roaming free, no supervision, lots of tropical everything. And then at the same time, there was a civil war going on, and we had bombings and food shortages and food rations and things like that. So, but as a kid, you don't really pay attention to that. You pay attention to the fun you're having with your friends, and I got to have a lot of fun. And basically, and then everything changed again. My parents got divorced. We went back to Russia during the Soviet times, which was super depressing. It's cold, not enough, like food was horrible, not enough of it either.
Mm.
Entrepreneurship is illegal. It's just a very sort of grayscale kind of world existence. And then things changed again. As I was graduating from college, the whole country collapsed basically all around us. And it went from unfree and grayscale to very free and all kinds of possibilities and also dangerous all at the same time, like tanks in the streets, kind of dangerous. And so I
Thanks in
just
the
grasped the
street.
opportunity. Yeah, like another attempted military coup, by the way. Yeah, they tried to overthrow the government there, and they failed. And most of my friends were going after college. I got a master's degree in economics. So, the rational thing to do is to go professional. And I was not very rational. All my friends went into either academia or trade or banking. And I could have done the same thing, but I went into music. And the reason I went into music is because I was a good singer, a good dancer. Like my
See,
whole life, I was very creative. And then so it was like the most foolish on the surface thing to do, but I was just very lucky. It was at the right place at the right time. And like within a very short period of time, I was one of the top pop stars in all of that space of 15 different countries. So it's just a lot of turns in life.
yes, yes. That is it's powerful. One thing I want to ask is because reinvention can look really shiny on the outside, but there's so much that goes on inside.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so I want to speak a bit to that. Like, are there specific inner practices that have helped you stay true to yourself while you're evolving through these different seasons?
Well, I think that's sort of the unexpected gift of so much change and so much trauma
Yes.
is actually that certain qualities or worldview, like certain mindsets that really helped me reinvent myself, because I basically went like from that to starting nonprofits, three different businesses in the United States and things like that. So I changed the worlds and careers even after that several times.
Mm.
Um, and I would say this. I would say, and I honestly, that's sort of what I do now. I help people that are usually in between seasons. They're not really satisfied
Mm.
with their professional journey, and they want to reinvent themselves for
Yes.
all kinds of reasons.
Yes.
And it's very scary. And I would say that one big foundational thing would be that most of us very instinctively that we want certainty in life, right? That's a very primal thing for all people. We want stability, safety, certainty. So because of we have such an addiction almost to certainty, we stay longer than we should in situations where we should get out or move on or evolve from.
Yeah.
And one fundamental mindset shift is that really you want freedom, you don't want certainty.
Mm.
And if you lean into certainty too much, you will lose freedom. And then you'll stay unfree for an extended period of time because you're addicted to certainty. And the way out of certainty is risk. You take a risk, you have to take a leap. And I was able to do that more easily because I was forced to, really. So I did it. When you do it 2 or 3 times, you stop being afraid of it. So
Mm.
what I help people is to see that foundational sort of thing and then help them emotionally handle like recalibrating their lives into a little bit more risk, a little bit into more entrepreneurship and creativity so they can find freedom again.
Interesting. Okay. You talked about a mindset shift. It sounds like you've done that for yourself and you're helping people go through
Yeah.
that. Um, I wonder, as people are going through these shifts, what are the barriers, the obstacles that you often see that they encounter that keep them from really reaching their potential?
Well, one is that you can't create a new future in a stressed out mode, in a survival mode, right? Over half of Americans are perpetually anxious.
Yeah.
So that's really you can't, because those creativity and survival mode cannot coexist. So
Ooh.
all you can do is sort of complain and worry if you're in the sort of high anxiety space. So the one thing that I really insist on, I'm like, look, I can give you amazing strategies on how to build your next chapter for your life,
Yes.
but you won't be able to even execute or see them if you're stressed out. So let me teach you how to go from stress to creative in about an hour
Ooh.
every single day. And you have to be able to do it on command, on demand, reliably, so that becomes a new baseline. I call that fuel. What the kind of fuel that you're built on, that you're going through the day, that what fuels you, it's what defines the future. And if you're fueled by essentially sort of the familiar past or the anxious sort of present, you cannot build a different future. You're going to rinse and repeat, and you're going to be on autopilot in failure. But if I can help you learn how to get from that state to the sense of joy and peace and clarity and
Ooh.
creativity, you know, on command, you know, that's a skill. You can totally develop that skill. And in fact, that's sort of the first thing we tackle, because without that good fuel, you can't really even find what your gifts are, what your passions are. We call that the edge that you are in the world, right? The edge, the competitive edge in the marketplace. You can't really find that fully without that kind of clarity. So we deal with that first, and we go, look, within a week, you'll feel the difference.
Yes.
And it's really like life changing. Now, it doesn't stick around if you don't internalize it and make it as a habit, right? Because people, basically, people like on week one, they go, "Oh my gosh, I feel so different," and now my life has changed. No, 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 no. It takes about 3 months for you to develop new habits and new rhythms and things like that. But you
Yeah.
feel it week one. It's actually not that complicated. That's the cool thing.
I love it. As a psychiatrist, I love that. And I feel like that's a point that a lot of people miss, that many people think that they're at the mercy of their emotions, but you can command and demand demand
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, totally, totally. And yeah, I mean, we feel like we're at the mercy. That's a really really good way of putting it.
Yes, and when you're able to respond rather than react, there's a lot of power there. I wanted to shift gears a little bit and ask, there's also something that's really important, especially to our listeners, being authentic and being real, uh,
Mhm.
and in line or aligned with their spirit. How do you help people navigate ambition, authenticity, so that they can reinvent themselves in a way that is really speaking their soul's truth?
Well, I think once you purify your fuel, like, you're really going on really good fuel, not bad fuel, not dark fuel, light fuel, right? Uh,
Tell me about
y
this dark
that
fuel.
well, dark fuel is, for example, everything from short term to long term.
Okay.
Short term, it could be, "Man, I just, I had got bad news. A client canceled a contract. I didn't get an opportunity that I was expecting. My kid's acting out," that kind of thing, right?
Yes.
My husband is a knucklehead. All of that compounded, basically, right? It creates this sort of baseline of anxiety, and it just never stops.
Yeah.
And the thing is, human experiences, suffering never stops. Actually, reasons to suffer, reasons to be anxious. They're always going to be there. So one is like these short term. Then the long term part of dark fuel is, look, if you had insecure, not secure attachment to your parents, if they were abusive, they were absent, if they were weak, if they were not present, if they were not together, if they were not loving, if you didn't feel safe, that is like this low grade bad fuel that will literally continue to fuel you, where it's just low grade fuel. Like, you don't believe you can do A, B, and C.
Mm.
Right? So that needs to be dealt with. And that's where psychiatrists, psychologists, they really help with those things, right? It's a big deal. I
Yes.
just did, like, last week, I did 17 hours of therapy in 5 days with my
Ooh,
wife.
hold on, let's talk about this. What is that how did you do that? Was that an intensive or like what
Yeah, it was an
prompt?
intensive. We are sort of, we're empty nesters. We're
Okay.
reconfiguring our lives, sort of entering a new season in two or three different ways.
Yes.
So we were like, okay, this is a new season. A new season requires new tools, new, almost like a recalibration of our desires, our
Mm.
insecurities, our connection points, things like that. So, and we are very intentional about our marriage, always have been, and we have a good
Woo.
marriage. So because of that, we're like, so we're not doing it reactively, we're doing it proactively, right? We're not there to go, like, to spend a week with a therapist, and we are like bringing this disaster, right? Like, save our marriage, we wanted to be a divorced type of thing. No,
Yes.
we're there to go, hey, this is challenging. We need to recalibrate. We need to renew. We need to stop and pause.
Yes.
Let's align ourselves together to a future that's going to be even better, right? So that's sort of
Mm.
the reason for it. It was a very strategic kind of thing, but 17 hours, that's a lot. I've never done that
Mm.
before, right? Like 3 hours a day. We went overtime every time, so it was
Wow.
great. Yeah, yeah. But
But
that's all to fuel, right? That's
yeah.
long-term, deep origin story. Like, we were like digging up childhood trauma, insecurities, things like that. And that's all, that all goes into fuel. Like, it's invisible, and that's sort of the thing that people find hard to manage, is that it's there and you can't see it. It's like in the air.
Mm.
So, and it skews the way you see your future. So, but I think your original question was something else, right? Was
Well, I was asking about ambition and because
oh, yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
and we also want to like be authentic and
Okay, so that's why I was bringing it up. Sorry.
yeah.
So if you have an optimistic, clear, creative way of being, and you can get there like every day, you're gonna become naturally much more authentic because you're not protecting yourself from anything. You're gonna also see more clearly what your ambition is, and the dark fuel of, let's say, I'm gonna show them, I'm gonna show my dad that never thought I would amount to anything. That's why I'm doing this. That's ambition that is infused with dark fuel, right? Over, hey, I've been gifted with this gift, with this passion, with these capabilities, and I want to impact this many people in this field and help them in this way.
Yeah.
That's good fuel. That's good ambition. So we're usually have a mix of fuels, right?
Yeah.
So, when I was a pop star, a lot of it was good fuel, a lot of it was bad fuel. The bad fuel never helps you, right? There's all kinds of things downstream from bad fuel, even if you have this ambition. So, but going back to ambition and authenticity, what I find to be fascinating is that we're entering this new era, and this is just recent, maybe like a decade, right? Maybe a little bit more, but I think technologically, culturally, etc., it's really more of a decade, not more than that. It's that it used to be that we can realize our ambitions through a company,
Mm,
through an industry, through some sort of institution that was both sort of the regulator and the gatekeeper, right,
mm,
of the thing that you want to do. So be in a whatever, an organization of psychologists or psychiatrists, a clinic, a big company, a tech company, a record label, things like that, right?
yeah.
So there's all these institutions that are in between your ambition and also your way of expressing yourself and authentically and the people that you want to serve, right? And then in the last decade, it's a massive shift towards you can actually go directly to consumer and you can reach anyone anywhere at any time.
Yes.
So there's less gatekeepers, and that's where sort of I focus in my coaching in personal brand development, because that's basically the vehicle for that. Is that if you have an expertise and you have, I don't know, 7+ years of specialization in something, you have expertise, you have passion, you know exactly what you want to do, going you want to serve, but you have these gatekeepers, undervaluing you or whatever, right? You can sort of shift and reinvent yourself to go directly to the people who you want to serve. So your ambition has this much less restricted sort of field to
Yeah.
play, because you can decide what your ambition can be, and it's infinite, right? What you can
Cool.
do with it. And then also the authenticity comes in that too, right? Because now if you are in an institution, a company, a hospital system, whatever, your personality or authenticity needs to be actually curtailed to fit the policy of the institution, right? Don't say that, don't say this, it's politically correct. Don't have big opinions because then your boss is going to feel like you're infringing. Don't, say something like this in the boardroom because the board's not going to approve of that. All of those things, right? So there's
Yeah.
bureaucracies that happen. They're necessary for bigger places. Well, if you want to go directly to and reach anyone anywhere, that lack of authenticity that you're forced to have to do well in bigger places is now a disadvantage.
Mm,
So if you have a YouTube channel, a newsletter for professionals, an Instagram account, you actually you won't be noticed unless you're authentic.
oh, yes.
You basically can't compete unless you're authentic, because people want exactly you. They want to know your values.
Yes.
They want to know why they would trust you, right? Why
Yeah.
would they buy from you? And there's been studies done in America where I think it's like 73% of Americans, something like that, they would pay more money and buy directly from the person whose values they are aligned with.
Mm,
So they trust is people don't really buy from brands; they buy from people.
mm.
They trust people. They don't trust an institution. So it's really in the last decade, it's like this incredible shift that is. I find it to be very liberating.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
you're making it sound liberating. Yes. Yes.
I find it to be so liberating, and it's scary in the sense that if you're not used to entrepreneurial living, which means, hey, you need to, if you have something to offer, package it, price it, understand how to market it. How do you develop a relationship? What's the customer journey? All of those things that you don't worry about when you're on salary, now you have to worry about, right? And you have to learn
Yeah.
those things. And people who don't want to learn, they're like, I just want safety.
Yeah.
I just want the secure this and this. Fine, that's great. Then function in those things. But the upside, you are giving up you giving up your freedom in exchange for safety.
Mm.
If you want freedom more than you want safety, you'll have to live dangerously a little bit, and go out there and learn some skills and develop a brand and put yourself out there and start offering your authentic self to the world. And that journey is harder, especially in the beginning, but it's happier in the end, because there's no limit to upside.
Oh, I love that. So harder in the beginning, but happier in the
Hmm.
end. The word that comes to mind, fulfilled.
Very, very much so. Yes. Very, because you are directly serving the people. You can
Mm.
see you can see the results. It's earned. Like, when people make money doesn't make you happy. Earned money makes you very happy. When more people go, I want this. This has helped my friend, my relative. I've heard this. It helped this person. I'm that guy. Can I come to you, please? And what you're doing, exactly what you focus on, and you're confident, and they see a result, and it's just amazing. It's magical, right?
Oh, I love it. Yes. Yes, yes. You talked about, that it's a little riskier when you're
Hmm.
going about having your own business, living that entrepreneur life, and maybe give an example of from your life or someone, I don't know, a client that you've worked out, something that
Hmm.
was really a risk that they came across, but with, um with some of the techniques that you, are teaching have transformed and changed.
Okay, so for example, I'll give you like two or three very quick ones,
Okay.
because I think what people, um, sometimes they go, personal brand is 100% entrepreneurial. Actually, it's not. You can develop a personal brand as an entrepreneur, as your, let's say, side gig, and then it becomes a main gig. You can develop it as an entrepreneur, meaning you start thinking of your work within a bigger corporation differently. You're basically
Mm.
thinking as an entrepreneur within a corporation. You can be a socialpreneur, right? You can be a nonprofit leader, a pastor, and the same principles actually apply as well. So I'll give you like something to put some color around it, right? So, for
Okay,
example, I moved to the U.S. So entrepreneur, right?
okay.
I moved to the U.S. Uh, 21 years ago, and my first job, I was the director for Latin America for this nonprofit, and then they gave me like this national grant in the U.S. to teach inner city youth, sort of, healthy lifestyle habits, right? And I had to basically, it was like a $2 million grant, and they had to develop everything from the ground up, meaning curriculum, how it's going to be delivered, by whom, where, etc. So that was sort of my gig. They offered sort of consultants to do that and go, okay, what does everybody do? And because I'm a creative, I'm like, I can't like just like do what everybody else does. So I'm like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to pick, like young people in churches who will go to camp and things like that, and we're going to teach them this curriculum. They can go to the inner city, set up schools, camps, and things like that, and teach them, because they're peer educators, right?
Mm.
They're not grown-ups, they're peers teaching peers. Okay, we're going to gamify it, we're going to make it fun. Okay, we're going to do a multimedia thing where you put in a DVD. This is DVD time still, and there you can watch something that's going to be delivered in a very entertaining and fun way, and have some exercise on the back end. Okay, we can't have like a boring person presenting that. So at the time, this was what, oh 04, oh 05, there was this movie called Clueless. It was like a
Oh,
young
yeah.
crowd comedy, right?
Yes, yeah.
So I knew somebody who knew a guy in Clueless. His name is Sean Holland. He's one of the actors. So
Yeah.
he was super funny, and he was also in the TV series Clueless after that. So I basically sort of networked my way to Sean's, like, hey, Sean, can you be like our guy? He's like, absolutely. So we flew him out. He filmed this thing with us. It was like a virtual set. It was really good and funny. And then we implemented that. And that basically, that even the multimedia thing was a award-winning program. Got 2 Telly Awards. It got implemented all over the U.S., Mexico, Jamaica, some Asian countries later, like adopted to their context, obviously. But my point is, when, I approached a corporate job, it was a corporate job, it was a government grant, all kinds of restrictions,
Yeah.
not as not as just a person who wants to check boxes,
Yeah.
right? I approached it from what's going to be what's the brand, what's going to get results, what's going to
Mm,
connect with young people, how
mm.
is it going to be fun, how are people going to talk about it, why are people going to tell each other about this thing, because it's so distinct, right? That's a personal brand, right? That's a brand in general. That's a good brand, and that's entrepreneurial. So, and my personal brand then within that is, I get to get the reputation of the guy who did something like that.
Yes.
It was not demanded by the corporation.
Yes.
So I get reputation, get status, I get invites to other things. So it might not monetize directly, but indirectly you get a very amazing career path, even within the corporate ladder, if you learn how to approach things just differently,
Oof, so many gold nuggets there. Reinvention also doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Right.
What role does community have? What family mentorship? What are the
Mhm.
roles that plays, and even for your own journey?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for most people, it's almost impossible to reinvent yourself unless you're outside of certain ecosystems. I mean, it really is. So
Oh,
for me, I always had
that's a
mentors.
strong
I
statement.
what was that again?
It's a strong statement.
Well, I'll give you a quick example that is almost on the extreme, but it's a thing that's dear to my heart. So we have this after school academy we started in Africa, the place I grew up in, in Mozambique,
Yeah.
and it's to get people, kids about 9, 10. That's when they start into this after school academy. And instead of sort of giving them fish, we teach them how to fish. We also feed them, obviously, but because they want nutrition, they won't learn if they're not fed, right? But but the big thing there is, the big gap is not just that they can't learn a trade. The big gap, the main gap, the first gap is that they don't know anyone who's successful,
Mm,
not one person. So it's an extreme example. So we put them in situations where they have mentors who are professionals in Mozambique. They could be whatever, policemen, bankers, lawyers, teachers, things like that. And they're hanging out with them and they're saying, hey, you know, you can be like me, right? So it's that basic, but it's an extreme example, but it's really descriptive of what happens in real life now.
yes.
Like if you're in an ecosystem, like an echo chamber, where no one has develops a personal brands, knows how to do an online business, hasn't seen any money from it, or freedom, or creativity, or fulfillment from it, you'll just go, well, yeah, I know that it exists out there. I see these influencers. I don't know, like I don't know how to do that, and you won't do it, although you're perfectly equipped to actually develop something that it brings you income, impact, and all of those things. If you hang out with people like that, it's going to normalize it for you,
Mm,
right? Not only the gain that you're going to go, oh, I can double and triple my income just like that so quickly. There's no way I'm going to do that with a salary. All the way to, oh, there's actually a lot of struggle involved, and I need to sort of buckle up and also teach myself some skills to sort of emotionally self-regulate and deal with the downside. So if you're around people like that, you get a shoulder you can cry on, you get a person to speak into your life. If you have a mentor, to a coach, that's why coaching is so valuable, is
mm,
that a coach can give you, a life,
yes.
and you can spend 100 grand on an education in college and it gives you almost nothing, gives you a degree, a little piece of paper. So like and I think that's the shift in education as well. People are understanding that I don't have to get like I don't have to go 4 years to an institution, pay like be in debt for another decade. I can go to this specialist and this expert and learn this thing and put my own thing together and go do it, right? And I think that's happening quite a bit.
Yeah. The role of mentor, the role of coach is honestly, it's priceless. And the education landscape is also changing, right?
Yeah,
Now.
and in education, you can be lucky to have a professor who also is a mentor,
Yes.
but it doesn't always happen at all,
It's
actually,
true.
you know?
That is very true. It doesn't always happen. So I think um having people in your corner who are genuinely interested in you, and then also people who are aspiring to do what you want to do is
Yeah.
invaluable for you. It sounds like you've done a lot of different things, right? A lot of different
Mhm.
I mean, I'm hearing you talk, you've been checking them boxes. Like one of your boxes is someone's whole life. So, but you check them
Yeah.
with no problem. In my mind, when I hear your story, the word that comes to mind is visionary, pioneer. And as you're moving into a new season, tell me
Yeah.
about your vision, what you're thinking about as we're moving into 2026 and beyond.
Well, I'll tell you, and I'll give you a little bit of context because that might be helpful for your audience as well
Mm,
and you.
yeah.
So, I see there's force as a human life. We have all kinds of changes and things like that. Obviously, it's not a straight line, but there's in the professional development piece, there are four distinct seasons, right? Like a bigger seasons. And the first one is you're a student, right? You're in high school, you're in middle school, you're in high school, you're learning about life and about that world that you're not participating in it in a significant way. You're just learning about it. You're in college, the same thing. Then you become a practitioner and you're now, hey, you're getting a steady income, you have a job, you're excited because you haven't seen money like that ever, right? And but you're hustling, but you don't really know your way around the craft or the art, the business that you're in. You're just learning about it based on the student season, and you can see a defined shift between student and practitioner. The things that you wanted and loved in student are by the end of being a student, you go, I'm sort of I'm sort of done being broke. I want to make some money, right? You're dissatisfied with that season, so you graduate to the next season. And the same thing with practitioner. In the beginning, you're just happy to be there and get any like grown up money and gets maybe have mentorship with somebody or learning something and getting into important rooms. By the end of it, you go, actually, no, I want status. I want respect. I want progression. And I have like, I want a vision. Now have maybe a family or something like that to support all of those things. So you become dissatisfied with the same thing that got you very excited just a few years earlier. And that's because you're now ready to graduate into the next season. The next season is master because you know your stuff, right? You know what you're doing. And in that season, you are a builder, right? You build a company, a department, a career. You're doing projects. You're hustling. You're at the peak of your physical abilities, so you don't get tired. You can fly all over the world, or all over the country. You can hustle,
Yeah.
and you will work to death. Now, what got you excited then? At the end of that season, is going to start getting old. You're going to go, why am I like slaving away? This is not cool, right? Like I've missed out on this and this and this. And now I'm feeling my age and like, I don't want to miss out on things like that anymore. That's why, because you're graduating into a new season called Sage.
Mm,
And that Sage season is where you naturally go, I want to be a little bit more low key. And I also value hustle less, but I value legacy more. I want to pass this on. I have wisdom. I have expertise. I see patterns that other people can't see.
mm,
I mean, this is the treasure. I don't want to just run around. I want to invest this into somebody. So anyway, that's a slightly extended um, entry point into my season. So I'm entering the Sage season, and I am like shedding too many things that I was doing. I was doing like four things. Now I'm doing like one and a half, right? And that's a painful transition because you have to say no to things, to even dreams. Like you go, okay, I wish I could have taken this thing to here, but I never got there.
mm,
But I do have to say no. This is doesn't really correlate with my season in life anymore, right?
mm,
And I think incidentally, a lot of people who mature into going, I want to develop a personal brand, are going from mastery to sage because they're much more interested in passing on wisdom and legacy and creating a legacy. And they're very interested that they're very confident in their expertise. And they realize that they underdeliver that expertise if they're just sort of doing the same thing over and over again. Rather, they would like to organize it into some intellectual property that can be monetized. So a lot of people like that are the people that are going from mastery to sage, and they don't want to hustle as much anymore. They just don't enjoy it anymore. Their values shift.
Mm,
So that's sort of my transition into this new season. And basically the way it looks like for me is that I'm all in onto the coaching piece. Like I used to do 3, 4 things. I'm doing one, right?
mm.
Coaching is my passion. I love my clients. I have a vision
Feel it.
to create a tribe of people who
Yeah.
are right basically in the same ecosystem.
Ugh, lovely, lovely, lovely. I can feel the passion that you have for it. And yeah, it is inspiring. I wonder, for listeners who are at a crossroads right now, feeling the call to evolve, to reinvent themselves, what's one simple daily practice you'd recommend to keep growing and evolving while staying anchored in their spirit, in their soul?
Well, I would say develop. I call that the quick win. Is basically okay. This is how you can being proactive rather than the reactive, right?
Mhm.
Mm, you you move your body because that activates everything, including your brain. You move it every day. You move it as much as you can, but at the very least, half an hour to an hour a day. That activates your full self. I think it's really, really important, and people just forget that their body is part of who they are. You meditate. So any spiritual practice, prayer, meditation, journaling, things like that. There's a slew of things you can do, and if you do that every day as well, because that will give you sort of the sense, the ability to set aside time and to practice what they call metacognition. It's the ability to observe from the outside what you're thinking, if that thinking is constructive, if that thinking is true, or is it just you know, losing your mind. So it gives you the ability to self-regulate emotionally, spiritually. So the meditation the meditate every day. The third piece is master a new skill.
Mm.
So move, meditate, master.
Oh.
And mastering a new skill is super important because you can learn how to close the gap between where you are and where you want to go, because there's always several skills that you must master before you get there. And most of us, especially when we sort of reach that mastery level of professional development, we have clientele, we have whatever, right? We stop learning new things in a systematic, daily, deep level. Like every once in a while, we attend a conference, take notes, get inspired, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about daily,
Mm,
every day. There's something that's keeping you from being that person you want to be tomorrow, and that something needs to be mastered.
mm,
And it could be all kinds of things. It could be mindset. It could be diet. It could be marriage. It could be parenting. It could be marketing, finance, investment, all kinds of things, right? It could be online presence stuff. There's like always a lot. And people just don't do it because it's crowded out by the urgent. The important is crowded out by the urgent. So
mm.
if you move every day, if you meditate every day, and if you master something every day, uh, if you do it every day, like if it's just an hour, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, you will not recognize yourself in a month.
I believe it, percent. Oof, yes. Well, Christian, for our audience members, they're gonna wanna get in contact with you. Tell tell us, how could we find you?
You can find me on Instagram. Christian Ray Flores is the handle, my full name. I think that's a good place. I have a newsletter that goes out twice a week. We have like 12,000 plus subscribers right now. Also, christianrayflores.com is the URL. It's called the XE Exponential Edge newsletter. And that's a really good one because you sort of get something in your inbox that's valuable twice a week. If you are even more serious than that, you go, oh, this guy has something that I probably should be to look into. You can go just on my coaching website. It's exponential without the E. It starts with an X. It's exponential.life. And you can see sort of the broad strokes of what we do. And there's a really good tool there, a free tool that evaluates your most readiness to start a personal brand. And it asks you like 30 different questions. It's, 5-6 minutes,
Yes.
and you get the results in your inbox. And it's pretty cool, pretty insightful, actually. So if you want to just sort of self-evaluate, that's a really good thing to do.
Oh, lovely. Christian, thank you for sharing your extraordinary journey, your expertise. You are reminding us just how powerful we are and that we have the capacity, the capability to live in a way that's in alignment with ourselves and reinvent ourselves when it needs to be done. Thank you so much for being here.
Elizabeth, a pleasure. You've been a joy to speak to. Great questions. I really appreciate it as well.
If you haven't heard it yet today, I appreciate you. The soul in me honors the soul in you. If you'd like to see more episodes like this, please subscribe or click here. And friends, if this spoke to you, leave a comment below. We would love to hear from you.